welcome back to the shed. Uh, got a fire going in the wood stove behind me, and it's early November, November 3rd. Today was the time shift day. So I thought, well, this is the perfect day to do a little annual maintenance on my boots and do a 1 year of wearing review on my NYX Builder Pros. So these are a NYX Builder Pro boot in the 1964 brown. I had them done to an 8-inch height with brass eyelets and hooks. And let's see, other information. So it has the Celastic toe, so that's like the fiberglass toe, and 55 last. The only thing I have done to these boots in the last year is wear them. I'll see if I can put some B-roll footage up as I'm talking to this next bit, but I wear these boots when I do yard work, when I'm raking the leaves, when I'm cutting up some branches to make kindling for the fire stove, when I, was shoveling the snow, walking the kids to school, you name it, this is it. Like, there's pretty much, out of an entire year, these boots have been worn, I would say, all but half a dozen, maybe a dozen days in an entire year I did not wear these things. So, first of all, these are the single most comfortable pair of footwear I have ever really owned. It took about 3 months, maybe 4 months, to really wear in the footbed. And you can see, so I don't know if the camera, I hope the camera's going to pick this up, but I do have a little bit of like a slight delamination here in that part of the sole. But I mean, that's such a minor thing, and a year in, it's not the end of the world. Fully to be expected. Oh, and the heel stack I did natural. I did not do any painting or dyeing on the heel stacks. These boots have, been through mud and dirt and stuff. Now, most of my wearing of these boots is in the shed here, like 95% of the time. I work at a desk, so it's a desk in a shed, so it does get dusty in here, but I'm not like, I'm not building houses, I'm not a general contractor, I'm not like a heavy duty user kind of thing. So most of the wear and tear on these has just been like light surface abrasions. And yes, I know if I had done a rough out on the bottom, then I wouldn't have that to be so noticeable. But to be honest with you, I, like 90% of my time is behind a desk, so I want these to look really sharp when I shine them up. And I figured I didn't need that heavy duty like rough out on the bottoms. Now you can see that I've definitely got some patterns here on the kiltie, or sorry, on the tongue gusset here, and on the kiltie from where my shoelaces are. One thing I did do, so when these come from NYX, they come with leather laces, and I wore the leather laces for about a month, but then it was getting into wet weather, and I found them slipping a lot. So I wound up going on their website, and I got these. I think they're called iron laces, and I 100% wholeheartedly recommend buying these. This is so I do find about halfway through the day, I do need to retie my boots and relace them up. But like this is like the best shoelace, bootlace that I've ever really had. Um, Now I think they might be getting a little kind of grimy and ish. Maybe I'll put them in like into the washing machine or some point. But so with these, One, so mind you, I'm coming into this not from a world of having had expensive boots before. Most of my exposure to boots is I bought a pair of running shoes maybe 10 years ago, and I'm still wearing those as like uh, whenever I want to slip in and out of the house kind of thing. Um, I would buy a pair of steel-toed boots from Canadian Tire once when I was working in a factory 20 years ago. I still have them gathering dust in a corner somewhere if I ever do need them again. Um, but what drove me nuts is at the time I was commuting to an office and walking through slush and snow, and um, there was about a 3 month window where getting from the car to the office was just terrible because you're walking through the slush and the junk. And then the rest of the year, I was wearing bean boots and running shoes when I would go hiking or walking with the kids. And I got tired of buying a pair of hiking shoes or hiking boots from Canadian Tire or Marchwork Warehouse, having them last for 6 months, maybe a year, and they would come unglued and I had to throw them out. I got tired of that, so I saw one of the Roseanne Bowl videos about these boots, and I decided to. I saved up my money for 3 years, and then I got these. So what I'm going to do now tonight is because it's getting into November season, I got this snow shield off of Amazon, and I figured let's polish this up and let's rub some of the snow shield in, and then I'll hopefully be a little more protected for the weather in the coming winter. And I thought I would do this and show you sort of a left foot, right foot comparison. Now, I also got this, I think it's a horsehair brush kit off of Amazon. So it says here, all weather beeswax formula protects your favorite leather against rain, snow, and sun. Snow Shield weatherproofs the leather fibers to protect against the elements while lubricating them to make them more supple. Directions. Apply heavily with a shine cloth or a dauber. In a circular motion, work into leather as well as seams and stitching. Let dry and repeat as needed. Cautions: may darken leather, not for use on suede or nubuck. Alright, well, let's dig in then. So, one thing that I have noticed about these boots is that, and it may be the kinds of socks that I'm wearing, but I find sometimes, like quite often, I get like chilly feet, oftentimes, and maybe it's because I'm just sitting at a desk and I'm not really moving around a lot, but I do find that they tend to kind of keep my feet chilly. Now maybe I need to buy better wool socks. Maybe I need to keep my feet closer to the fire. But that is one thing I did kind of notice. And because this is a stitched down boot, you do also have, uh, you've got like there are like little perforations in the leather around the base there, right? So if you're walking in a puddle, like a heavy puddle, you will notice it. And like water does sort of tend to get into them a little bit, right? So I'm just gonna rub this in with my fingers here. Now this leather is definitely very dry and very dusty right now. Uh, this weekend I was out raking the leaves and cutting some brush up, and it was a very sort of dry and dusty kind of thing. So with these boots, so I was on a bit of a rabbit hole because I got tired of just spending money every year or so, and I also kind of got tired of having like one pair of footwear for summer months and one pair of footwear for spring and another pair for the winter. Like I got tired of having, like it almost felt like I had a different boot for a different pair of shoes for a different day of the week kind of thing, right? And I much preferred the idea of having something that I could wear basically every day. So when I watched the Rose Anvil review of the Nix Builder Pros, where he cuts them in half and he shows you there's 10 layers of leather between the ground and your foot, I was sold because at that point I had been doing leatherworking for a couple of years, so I had an appreciation for good leathers and what working with good leather would mean. And I've been looking for leather boots, and you know that historically, people used to make boots out of leather, right? And it seemed like it was so hard to find a modern pair of proper leather boots. So anyway, I'm on this rabbit hole, and I find Rose Anvil, and I find out about Nix boots, and check this out. So here's how my kiltie looks after a year of being on the boot. So I wound up saving up. It took me actually 3 years of saving up because even though Nick sells these boots for like $500 or $600 American, I'm in Canada, so immediately you have to add another like 30% on the exchange rate, and then there's shipping, and then there's taxes and duties and all that nonsense. So by the time it all got said and done, this pair of boots cost me just under $1,000 Canadian. It was a little over $900, and honestly, best $1,000 I ever spent. Now, because I did made to order, it took, I want to say, about 6 or 8 months before I got the boots, because I ordered them in February and I got them middle of October that year, and it was just in time for me to do like a late November, a 1st of November entry into the Patina Thunderdome last year. And now, one thing that I did find a little bit annoying with these boots, and I know it's because of the style of boot they are, the way they're built, is when I would shovel snow, you get snow and water and stuff, and because it's leather, it does absorb the snows. And so I would find that, like on snowy days, my feet would stay wet, and it would kind of keep wet on me. And um, I know that's because I was wearing a leather boot when I was shoveling snow, but I also really didn't want to have put on one pair of boots and take off another one back and forth just for snow shoveling. That's me, being lazy and then suffering the consequences, kind of thing, right? Um, so I am hoping that by using this Snow Shield beeswax stuff, that it's going to solve some of that problem for me. Looks like if I kind of get it into see if I can get into some of the cracks around the stitches down here. So I think this is um, like a knockoff version of Snow Shield. Oh, what's the name of it? I don't even know the name of the proper stuff, but anyway, but I think the idea is that this is going to wind up going in and getting kind of like sealing into some of these cracks. I'm going to go really thick over the stitches here. Now, you can see that this is already like darkening my leather boot here. Like, take a look at this. So you've got these two boots here side by side. It's very clear which one I have been working on right now and which one I have not. So this snow shield stuff, job site snow shield, just, you know, be aware it is going to darken your boot. Now that being said though, this 1964 brown, like, in my mind, that it looks really nice when it's been waxed up like this. So put a little more down here, and I get a lot of snow and stuff inside the gusset here on the tongue, so I'm going to put that down there. Now, in a previous video, I thought that these guys were from Seattle, and I've been corrected. They're from Spokane. Spokane, how do you say that? I don't know. I'm not local. One day, I would love to go on a road trip down there, but I'm in Lindsay, Ontario. I'm literally the other side of the country. So yeah, here we are. So my boots are good and shined up. My kiltie is looking really good. And so there is my 1 year wear and tear review of these boots. So I'll hold this up to the camera a little so I can get a little bit here. So, oops. So I have had lots of scuffs here around the toe box area. I'm getting some nice wrinkling in here. Now, I'll be honest with you, personally, I really don't care how those boots look. I didn't get into wearing a nice pair of leather boots because I want to have something fancy on my feet. I got into this because of the 1955 last, and because this pair of boots is going to last me pretty much practically the end of my life. With the kind of wear and tear that I'm putting on boots, these things are going to last forever. And that is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to buy something that I buy at once, and then I'm good. So, if you are on the fence about buying a pair of Nick's Builder Pros, all I can say is find a way to pay for it and pull the trigger. They've got, so this is the 8-inch height, the 10-inch would be a little bit higher. They have this 55 last. So I was wearing chiropractic orthotics in my shoes because I felt like I wanted to have a little bit of arch support, and it felt like every pair of shoes I bought off the shelf didn't have arch support. These have arches for days. Like, when you look at that, like this, I'm in love with the arches on these boots. And when you realize that the shank here is a piece of oak tanned leather, and just like the construction that goes into this is incredible. Go watch a YouTube video of the guys and girls at Nick's building these things, and you'll be really amazed. Because there is true craftsmanship that goes into making these things. And I honestly, I cannot say anything. Okay, so there is only one problem, that I actually have with these boots, and it was super easy to fix. So inside the boot, so you've got, so there's a piece of leather that starts up here at the heel and goes about halfway down. It's like the very top layer of the insole. It stops about halfway here, and then there's further layers from there. Now, the very top that very top layer, I think it's called a slip sole, on one of my boots, on I think it was my left foot, it had come up a little bit. So as I was pulling my foot out, that like the leading lip of that piece of leather would come up with it. And it was, there's no nails. It's simply a matter of when they were made, it just didn't get enough glue in that one like half-inch spot on that leading lip there. Now, the good news is it was super simple to fix. I happen to have leather glue around here, so I just took a little bit of leather glue, put it on my finger, slipped it down there on the bottom, and then let it dry for a day before putting them back on. Never had a problem since. Um, and I mean, of all the nitpicky things for me to nitpick on, that's that's it. Uh, that's the only problem I had with these things, other than paying through the nose on customs and duties. But when I live in Canada and I order something from the States that is worth real money, that's gonna happen. There's really no way around that. That's not under Nick's control how much the government decides to tax footwear. Um, the There have been days when I hear a squeak as I walk, and that's because there's like the layers of leather in the sole are kind of moving around a little bit. Um, there's really no way around that, and it goes away after a day or two. And I think it's only really if I haven't been wearing them for a day or two that it happens. And honestly, I don't even remember the last time it did. The the break in, so the break in of the top of the boot took a little bit of time. It was about a month to break in my uppers, and maybe a month and a half on like my gussets and my kilties. But it took a good three, almost four, to get that footbed broken in because it's you see, in my case, I don't walk a lot. My kid's school is a 10-minute walk south of here and then back. My house is 30 feet out the door and then back. Um, Hell, my mailbox is in the front of the house. I don't even have to walk around the corner to go to the mailbox. So 90%, 95% of the day, I was sitting in a chair, which is not the best way to break in boots because you're not moving in them, right? So it took me a good 3, 4 months to break in the footbed. If I had been hiking every day, if I had been working out of a pickup truck and on a construction site or as a tradesperson or hell any job that would be on my feet, then that break-in would have been a much sooner. Now I do understand from the Nix websites and the other videos that the 64 Brown is supposed to be one of their easier break-in leathers, and whereas the work leathers like the true black, true brown, like those ones are a little thicker, a little tougher to break in. Um, I personally, for my purpose, I would not. I would love to have another pair with one of the thicker levers just to see what it's like. I'm not going to buy one because I don't have that money, and I think for my use, one pair is enough. But that would be my only. And honestly, it's not even a complaint. Like having to spend 3 months breaking in a pair of boots, knowing that after you do that, these boots are going to last you basically the end of your life. Because I mean, I'm 39, and I don't work on a construction site. Chances are these boots are going to be with me for the next 30 years. Um, I might need to do a I'll eventually need a resole, but I've got like miles of tread on these things. So in my mind, it took a little bit of time to break them in, but it was worth it. And yes, every year, maybe twice a year, I need to do something like this. I need to get them, you know, doctored up and get some of this sealer in here to keep them watertight. But you know what? That's not such a bad thing. Uh, in the world that we live in today, we spend so much time just buying something and then throwing it out. Why not spend that time and refresh it and renew it? Because check this out. Here is this boot. Look at all those scuffs. Look at how dry that leather is. Okay? Like this leather, this boot has is not happy. It's fine. But then this boot here, I've been able to just get rid of all that scuffiness, all that rough bits. This almost looks brand new compared to this. And all I did was Snow Shield beeswax compound. Uh, doesn't even list the ingredients. It says our original beeswax formula, so it's got beeswax in it. It's creamy, it's pasty. So yeah, there you go. I'm gonna go wash my hands, and I'll see you later. Safe travels.